you have to think marketing as business. You really need to know your stuff and you really need to be able to sell it. People are just talking about the data, but the data itself has no value. What you do with the data has value. Then we thought, what is the craziest thing that we could do? So more stupid ideas you get, they are the ones that most likely will be the ideas that are the best. So I think that it has everything to do with the security of bringing bad ideas on the table. We won some Cannes Lion awards with that. So a lot of companies from investment perspective, they actually lose a lot of money because they do stuff that nobody cares. The biggest of ideas are never committee driven. And a lot of structural things is that if you try to find ideas in committees, they become boring.
Here's Paula Macadi, and this is episode 6 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. What do you think could happen if a convenience store near you simply asks you and your neighbors what you wanted in their store? Or have you ever thought about watching a 24/7 TV show that is just a camera facing the conveyor of a grocery store? These are 2 examples of brilliant campaigns led by the guest today, Lauri Toivonen. He's the CMO of SOK, a Finnish co-op with 47% of grocery market share. And please listen to this, 78% of all Finland households are part of the loyalty program. Lauri will show in this interview today how the largest retailer in Finland operates its marketing strategies, how his agency background influences his decisions, and his views on cookieless society and first-party data. But before we go to the interview, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to the show either on YouTube or any podcast provider so you don't miss any episode. I promise I will keep working hard to bring you the best content. But I am impressed that you as the CMO of SOK is the group.
Yes.
So the group has several brands in supermarket, department store, service station, fuel sales, hardware trade, travel, hospitality, and banking. It's a huge group, apparently. Can you explain a little bit more to us what SOK is?
Yes, we are one of the biggest companies in Finland. We are a retail company. About 40,000 people working in the market that is 5.5 million people. So in Finland, we don't have 50 million or 15 million. We have only 5 million people living in Finland. And yes, we are operating nationwide. We are a co-op, so we are a customer-owned company, which brings another layer to the management system, sort of that we have 19 regional co-ops, which own basically SOK, where we run our business concepts and different verticals from.
And I saw some numbers that are very interesting. So you have 1,900 locations and a market share of 47%. And the most impressive of everything is 78% of the households are loyalty members. Wow.
Yeah. Yes, and well, first of all, the 47% market share is in groceries, which is our main area of business. So it's sort of, let's say, more or less 75% of the business is groceries. And our Finnish households are members and owners of the company. And so that is one of the key strengths which we have as a company, that our loyalty system, which is a cashback bonus system, is that it rewards you more you buy. So basically, and it's a real cash, what we pay back, not coupons, but you can use the cash anywhere else. You can come to New York and spend the cash. So our company really rewards our customers, which are our owners, for them to come to our places, and we bring the value for money for them.
Phenomenal. We'll get there later in the interview, but one thing that I want to ask you first is, when I was researching about you, I saw that you have a marketing agency background.
Yes.
I think I've worked in agencies. There is a specific type of personality to work in an agency that is completely different than work in a corporation. I think like two personalities usually don't
hang in the same places, they hang out in the same places. How was this transition for you from agencies to a retailer so big as SOK?
Yeah, it's a good question. And first, what I'd like to say if I think of the industry, I think it would be a lot healthier if people would move more back and forth. And I don't see that happening a lot, not in Finland, but not, as you said, we tend to think that there are different personalities. Well, first of all, if I think of myself, in the agency world, some of the people might have said that okay, I understand creativity and content, but I'm a process Nazi. And on the other hand, when I came to the corporation, they tend to say that I'm the crazy creative. But the biggest thing is for me that in the agency world, for me it was sort of natural because the learning curve is so huge. You tend to work with different clients from different industries. It's a really high-paced. You get to solve problems for really, really different kind of issues. But on the other hand, growing up in that kind of an environment, at some point in my career, for me it was so that I started to feel that maybe the advices that I gave to the clients and I didn't see the long-term effect to that, and I wanted to more take responsibility of running the business and moving on to the other side. For me, in that sense, it was really natural. But of course, it was a shock to go from really let's say hyper agile in
that's what I was going to say. Agencies always running around the clock, working many hours a day, trying to do as much as you can.
Yeah, that's true. But on the other hand, in the past 10 years, I've learned so much of leadership, about management, about how to really run the success in the long run. It's not about stunts. It's not about one campaign, and it's about continuous learning, continuous development. It's about going to the right direction all the time and persistence. So I think that as a person, I've developed a lot within that change. But for me, I think it was quite a natural move. But I must say that not all companies would have hired me.
Yeah. Why? Because you're the crazy creative one?
Yeah. Well, yes, I think that a lot of corporations, they tend to hire the CVs. They tend to hire the background. And this is just my really, really shallow understanding of how a lot of companies think that, and people sort of, a lot of talent gets stuck in one industry, and so agency people get stuck in the agencies and corporate people get stuck in the corporations. And I think that that leads to a fact that there is not enough diversity in companies, not in the agencies and nor in the corporations sometimes.
I agree. I've seen it on my own, with my own eyes. But I feel like I have a cousin, for example. She worked her whole life in agencies. When she moved to the company, she was like, "Oh no, I'm going back. It's too slow here. I need the fast pace." So.
Yeah, for me, I think that one thing with SOK has been that because we are in numerous fields of the business. So in my position, I get to look and facilitate processes in all the businesses. And obviously, if I would work in just one area, it might be so that it would not be enough for me, so to speak. So I'm really privileged to be able to contribute in a lot of businesses, which makes a bit more high-paced my work in the group, such as we are.
And when I hear co-op, for me, the branding co-op is in my mind something slow, no innovative, not risk-taking, not doing fun stuff, and etc. And did you feel this way when you came, and you had to change that? Because I've seen that SOK is not that.
Yes. First, I have to touch that why it might be so that a lot of co-ops are like that. And I think it's sort of, it comes from the structure where the structure is in good and bad ways such that you involve a lot of people in decision making. But when it comes to creativity or creating concepts, the natural state of that is that you have to have centralized capabilities. You have to have really high-end expertise on that. And also in our group, it was one of the key issues was that, okay, let's build centralized capability that creates ideas. Because I know it's old Ogilvy saying that you go to all the parks in all your cities and you will find no statues for committees. And I think what that means is that the biggest of ideas are never committee driven. And a lot of structural things is that if you try to find ideas in committees, they become boring. And this was one thing which it's not because of that, it was because of the change, what was needed in efficiency ways and all the ways. But I needed really, I saw a really big demand on high expertise, centralized capability when I started my work, and I was supported that from the regions and from the top management, and I was lucky with that because I put in the numbers and showed a way, and it has been a long way. It was not done in a minute or a week or quarters. It's been a huge change in the past 10 years, and especially in the past.
But that gives you like another ability as a leader, right? Like having to sell this idea, because it's not so easy usually when you come like, hey, yeah, this is what you're gonna do, and they're like, no, this is not how we have been doing. So.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that is one of the issues why as a corporate we have succeeded, because it doesn't allow any individual to do too much stupid stuff. You need a buy-in before you get to do stuff. So, and I think that it's a quite good leadership academy for young directors to come in and start to do stuff, because you really need to know your stuff, and you really need to be able to sell it.
To prove the concept, to prove how much it's going to take, and etc. And well, we are in 2024, which is a year that we are talking about only one topic in marketing, which is Chrome killing the cookies, and all the marketers out there are desperate, not knowing what to do. I think even like the younger ones, because they started their career with the cookies there. So, but what is fun is that SOK did a campaign saying, your data is your data, claiming that the consumers should own their data and have access to that data. And I'm like, well, that sounds very weird coming from the grocer perspective. What is this campaign? How you came up with it?
Yeah, and actually, I have to say that it's not only a campaign. It's part of the loyalty app. What we have is that how we think of the data. We are not giving our consumer data to anybody else. They own their data, but what we can do with the data is provide better services and solutions to the clients and customers. And we wanted to create this service, which is basically showing your own cart and your own behavior. That how do you shop? And that was a phenomenal success for our company too, because now it's totally transparent for me as a consumer. How do I spend my money with this company, and what is my purchase behavior? And I can then adjust accordingly if I see that, okay, I want to save money here, or maybe I should move more my money to veggies than other stuff. Or
being buying too many beers, and I need to focus more on the veggie side.
That's funny that you mentioned, because I one of the biggest categories for my personally was beer.
Oh yeah,
It's
I'm
not
sure I'll
anymore.
have funny. But that's very interesting. So it's not that you're using the loyalty to acquire data of your customer. You are also providing this data to the customer.
Yeah, in the mode of giving better services, and I think that is also something that in this all the hype and trends that we are going over the world. Today we are talking about AI. Everything is AI this and AI that, but AI is also contextual. So it was a few years back, everybody were, and now we are talking about with the cookieless world, we are talking about data all the time, and data is also a backbone of AI. But people are just talking about the data, but the data itself has no value. What you do with the data has value, and I think it's quite interesting that companies don't understand that you should concentrate more on providing better services and better customer experience and talk about that a lot more. The data is just one capability to do that. And I think that the whole industry and the whole business world is a lot talking about another way around. We tend to take one topic, and I know there is a huge consultation business around it always, but still, you should go to the basic and ask that, what do my customers want? And then use the data to provide that.
Yeah, I think you have also a good opinion on personalization, right? I think it's another word that we hear a lot.
Yeah.
What is the personalization now that you're seeing, and is it taking wrong?
Yes, for me, this is something that tends to get my nerves up when people start to talk about personalization in a way that is something you should do. Of course, if a service is better when there are features that are personalized, then try to personalize it. But it's not so that everything should be personalized. Actually, it has been studied that if you try to personalize a lot, you get to be creepy and it decreases your brand value. But on the other hand, if you just try to serve your customers, make better services, make better customer experience, and then personalize accordingly, then you get better loyalty, better feedback from your customers, and better brand value.
So you're saying that you can use the data to create the experience that the customer wants.
Yes.
And not the creepy, approach that most brands take.
Yes. Well, it's the same if we, let's say, go back to the targeted marketing and cookie stuff and everything. I think it's quite funny that corporations talk it from the perspective that, hey, we have this data and these target groups, let's now start to shoot our messages towards them. And I haven't met a human being that is intrigued and inspired by anybody shooting messages to them. All of us, we get to recognize 5,000 to 10,000 commercials messages a day. I would ask that how many of them you remember from yesterday?
None.
Exactly. And
I honestly cannot think about one that I saw.
Exactly. And that is because a lot of people in the industry are so data, personalized, tech-driven, that they only think of what we are capable of doing. And then they, at the same time, say that we are customer-driven, but it's BS. They actually are just shooting messages and providing no value for customers.
And what would be your advice, especially, I will go back to the cookieless society and etc., because you are giving value to your customers, therefore they're giving the data to you.
Yes.
The first party data that everybody's like, oh my God, how am I gonna get it now? What is your advice to other marketers to add this value to the customer?
Yeah, I think I'm I'm going back all over again to the perspective that think of the pain points that the customer has. Think of I think it's really normal planning to do that. Okay, how would the customer want the world to be catered to them, and try to do that. And if then you see that, okay, we cannot do that without the data, then let your customers know that, okay, I could do this to you, but I would need you to tap in. And
tell me what you want.
Exactly.
So, okay, now is the question I wanted to get, because that's perfect. That's the perfect room for that. So I saw Alepa's Blockwish.
Yes.
Which is, let me see if I explain it correctly. It's an app where there's a chatbot where the customers can send what they want in their stores.
Yes.
Tell me more about that, because that's a huge value.
Yes, and actually, technically, it was a really, really easy to do solution. And if we think more broadly, actually, that kind of service has existed in all the stores in the world for the past 100 years. So when you went 40 years ago to the mom and pop store, most likely they might have listened to what you would like to have, and then they added it to the shelf, or you could ask stuff. But
you don't have that specific brand. I like it so much. That's a shame.
Yeah.
So they would buy it.
Yeah, and but coming to today's world where efficiency is everywhere, that's sort of the basic feature of having dialogue and conversation with the customer, especially in the supermarket trade, has disappeared. Even though we listen to customers this way, but in the scale. And Alepa had a challenging situation because it's point-to-point competition because it's a convenience store, and in the local competition, it was perceived worse that the competition in terms of that, does it fit the customer needs? If we look how the reality is, Alepa was providing good stuff, but what we wanted to add an interface between us as a customer, that customer voice would be listened better. So we made this chatbot-driven service where they can ask their products to the shelves, and then we just do it. But actually, what was the bigger thing was that we based the marketing of Alepa chain thoroughly on that one service. So
that was it.
And we started to do it, and the change was phenomenal. I mean, people started to use it. They started to feel Alepa as their own corner store, and it was a huge success in terms of meeting the competition. And
so I imagine that each store has, in each neighborhood has. The customers have their own wishes, so each store started being equipped differently with different products.
Yes, and of course, if you look at the grocery stores in Finland, it depends on the markets. But let's say that even in convenience store, there are 8,000 eatable SKUs. So it's sort of the proportion of the SKUs are like customer asked, and the rest is like, of course, there is milk and butter and whatnot, but even if it's a small part of the SKUs, then it feels like, okay, this feels like that they are listening to us, and we brought it to the shelf space also, that okay, this product is here because people wanted to have it.
And I was reading that, well, it got huge media attention. It became memes.
Yes.
People were posting what?
Yeah, of course. People started to post memes from the shelf space where there are extra large condoms, for example, that, okay, this is what I I want it here, and that sort of stuff. And that's funny.
That's an amazing. Well, see, that's how you engage with the younger audience, I imagine.
Exactly.
Another case study that I think is phenomenal for the Prisma store is the belt.
Yes.
I won't tell the audience about it because I think you can do it much better. What was the belt?
Yeah, the belt was another innovation. It was a media innovation, and we actually ran the belt every year in the 5 years. But the first time we ran it, I have to tell first how we came up to the idea, because the problem was that Prisma increased its opening hours up to 24/7, and we thought that we must have other ways and more creative ways to tell about it than just pushing the tactical message on. And in Finland there is a Midsummer party. We call it Midsummer party, but where basically the whole nation, we have a lot of summer cottages, and people go to summer cottages and have parties, and they spend the whole endless night with lights because the sun doesn't go down on the summer cottages partying. And we thought that why don't we use that phenomenon that people are only using their social media, and they are a bit party mode, so they are ready to share everything crazy. And then we thought, that what is the craziest thing that we could do? And we started to buzz around, and somebody said that, hey, why don't we just make a TV show that for the whole night, showing that Prisma is open, shows only one thing, which is the conveyor belt. And this is so stupid idea that there was something really, really interesting in that. And we called Facebook, we called some other outlets, and we thought that, Facebook Live was coming during the year, and we said that, hey, let's do a trial on this. And we put it live, and it exploded enormously. And
everybody commenting on people's purchases.
There was people commenting on the purchases online. We have 5 million people, so 1 million downloads of the live video. We got to be on the TV shows next 2 weeks, just explaining what is this phenomenon, and it was really crazy. But it was really also, I love the idea of phenomena that become conversations, because actually customers were doing the content. We just provided a platform, because it was nothing but a belt showing what people buy.
It was in one store only?
Yes, only one store. And people started to make trips to that one store.
I want to go and I want to show my purchases. I see that they put their faces on as well.
Yes, and because it became such a phenomenon, we did that for a few years back, and people were waiting, and they were like, is there another Midsummer belt coming? And so it became a media, like a media of itself. But it was a great success. And also I think that one thing which we would need to remember, that small thing, really, really crazy, even stupid sounding idea. But I would say that what's the trade-off, or what's the risk? So let's just do it. Let's just try it. And it exploded phenomenally. And we won some Cannes Lion awards with that, and it was
amazing. I'll put in the show description, because people gotta see it. I already showed to all my friends because I was like, oh my god, I interviewed the guy. And that comes to my next question, because you were willing to take the risk, right? And risks can come with big rewards, which was what happened, or not. How do you foster this thought of innovation and risk taking to your team?
Yeah, I think it's a twofold issue. First of all, if we think in the corporation and you think of discussing this issue in among the top management, I think one big thing is that if we do it another way around, okay, we use money for marketing and advertising. What is actually the biggest risk in that investment? And the biggest risk is that nobody cares. And that's what I see happening. As you said, you don't remember a thing from yesterday. So a lot of companies from investment perspective, they actually lose a lot of money because they do stuff that nobody cares. Okay, what is the worst thing can happen when you do things like Belt? Some people think it's ridiculous and stupid. So what? It doesn't, it still doesn't devalue your service or your brand or whatever. So I think it's sort of controversial that we tend to talk about the risk in the wrong context. From the investment perspective, you should ask every day that kind of innovations because people care about their being touched. So that's one angle. Then again, how to foster creativity in the perspective of the team and the teams. We have a lot of expertise in-house, but also obviously we operate with agencies. What I always say to everybody that I don't want you to think about the domain you are working at. I mean, the domain in such that are you from SOK or are you from TBWA or Omnicom or like wherever you are from. But I want you to think of the context of this business and its customers, and then foster a relationship with the team that everybody brings in the expertise, and there is no stupid stuff to be said. There are just questions and more questions.
Yeah, but you have to leave the room open for that, right? Like I've had bosses that wouldn't want to listen to stupid things. Yeah. You never know when it's a stupid thing that can be successful, right?
Exactly, and I think that I've been really, fortunate to have been working with really talented people over my career, and I think that the best things that we've done over the years have always been such that there has been a stupid idea involved. So more stupid ideas you get, they are the ones that most likely will be the ideas that are the best. So I think that it has everything to do with the security of bringing bad ideas on the table.
And what has been the greatest achievement of your career, would you say?
It's such a big question, and I see myself student of life. So it's really hard to say, but looking back the last 10 years, I think making the change, as you said, from agency person to a leader of marketing in such a big corporation, and being able to foster and facilitate the change that we have, because that change has been huge. We were really production driven. We were really siloed. We were really not creative. We were really not providing measurable results. And I'm quite proud of myself that I've been able to be persistent on that, because I'm kind of a person that already also seeks new challenges all the time, and so that's been really big growth for me. But also, I would see that as a success, and it has changed a lot in the whole group. So part of the change, there are a lot of other people that marketing people has been involved in that change.
It was a change of culture, really.
Yeah.
And what was the greatest failure?
This is also a hard question, because I don't see one, but in principle, as a human being, I think that every time I've treated a person wrongly is a huge failure. And from business perspective, I think that most of those cases, which I hope I've learned from, come from a business perspective where you don't correct wrong issues early enough. And I think that that is something that it's really hard as a leader, that because every company has a lot of issues. I mean, of course. And
that's why robots not going to take our jobs, because we have to solve these issues all the time.
Yeah, but I think that to really understand that which of the things that must be corrected are so that if you don't do it, they will escalate. And I think that is something I've learned a lot from that the biggest failures have been that you sort of sit on something and wait.
You don't want to solve it right now.
Yes.
Just let me just do it another time.
Exactly. And I really, today, I think that don't wait. Always solve it now. That is something I've learned.
And well, we're recording this from New York. But first I want to ask actually another question, then I'll ask my last question. What would you say to someone that is getting into marketing now? It doesn't have to be in retail, but in marketing now, and they aim to be a CMO one day. What would be your advice to them?
Well, sort of going up the ladder, one thing which you would need to understand from the first place, that marketing is not different from any other areas of business that are it's strictly business driven. So you would need to know your drivers and your numbers, because if you don't do that, then you don't get your voice heard in the C-suite or in the corner offices. So that's one thing, that you have to think marketing as business. The other thing is that if you want to be a CMO, I would advise you to be curious of everything in the marketing. You don't have to be expert in everything, but you have to be curious of the stuff that is happening and where do we develop, and sort of develop a generalist idea of where we are going. And of course, it is then good if you are expert in something. It might help you on the way. And the third thing is that do stuff. Do a lot of stuff. Yes, because you tend to learn a lot when you do stuff. So that's my 3 points for that.
Thank you. And well, now my last question. We are here in New York recording this. Unfortunately, I'm not in Helsinki, but I'll go.
Yeah.
I'll go. I'll do my app later.
Yeah, we'll host you whenever coming to.
Awesome. Can't wait. But my question is, we're here in New York. When you come here, you look for inspiration as a curious person. What have you seen that excited you?
Well, I have to say that this time, of course, there is always a lot. I mean, even in the city of New York, and you go to the flagships and see the inspiration and where the high-end consumer experience is going. That is always intriguing. But I think that as a retailer now, it's been the buzz for the past, let's say, 3 to 5 years. Well, 2 to 3 years. I think the discussion around retail media and retail houses becoming media houses, I think, and also connected to the consumer behavior, the whole marketing phase, retail media being the fastest growing media throughout the categories. I've had really good discussions, good cases, good examples, good frameworks on the idea, and that I've learned a lot from. So it's always seeing the other peoples in the industry, across industry, different markets and having dialogue. So you get ideas from that.
Yeah, this was my idea with this show. Actually, I want to show the global perspective. I think people don't have the channel to have these conversations with other markets. And well, I'm sure everybody learned a lot from a Finnish retailer that I didn't know from, and I'm so excited about. Now I have to go, as I said.
Yeah, and thanks for having me. And I have to say that you have one more follower in your podcast. So
thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed this interview and got as inspired as I did with Lauri and SOK. I find it amazing how commerce can be so creative in Scandinavian countries, and I have prepared a few other interviews in Sweden that are coming to this channel later this month. So stay tuned, and if you have any suggestions, please reach out to me on LinkedIn or send me an email to ideas@offbounds.tv. See you next Tuesday.